Michigan is 3. Penn State was 4, but Penn State's already lost. So,
Okay. Big Ten.
yep.
All right, I'm going to throw them. Welcome to MGoRadio 7.9. I'm Seth Fisher along with Alex Drain. Brian is not going to be joining us tonight because he's got oral surgery, but I think we solved the solved the headache problem at least.
Yeah, oral surgery, not very conducive for a podcast setting.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was kind of a last minute thing where he's like, "Oh, I can't do a podcast." What, Brian? I can't do a podcast. I'm like, no. You absolutely have to do the podcast. No, he wouldn't refuse to do it. But anyway, this is the MGoRadio. We are sponsored by Underground Printing. UGP has 3 locations in Ann Arbor. They offer thousands of University of Michigan athletic products. Check out ugpmichiganapparel.com. We also want to thank all of our associate sponsors: Peak Wealth Management, Home Insure Lending, Ann Arbor Elder Law, Michigan Law Grad, Human Element, the Field Clan Insurance Group, Apprentice 4M, SignalWire, which we are using now, and introducing Team Fan Club, which allows to support the players on Michigan men's and women's basketball teams directly now. Penn State. They're not the Penn State they were when they beat Wisconsin, but I mean, who is?
Yeah, Penn State's had a weird year. They started really strong. They went into Madison and beat the Badgers. Then they beat Auburn at home. They shut out Indiana. It was kind of rolling along. And then they go into Iowa, and we're going to cruise to a 2-touchdown victory in that game. And then Sean Clifford gets injured, and everything kind of goes off the rails. And Clifford is back, but not 100%, at least does not appear that way, especially in the running component of the game, and that's a very big part of their offense.
Yeah, I mean, that is basically that was holding up the running game, and you said that was because the offensive line does not look good, which is a little surprising because they were fairly decent offensive line last year, and they returned most of their guys, but I mean,
yeah, I don't know what went wrong here because you've got a ton of talent on the offensive line. I mean, all 3 guys that we signed on the chart were top 250 recruits. Rasheed Walker, in particular, the left tackle, used to be good a couple of years ago and was a really highly thought of recruit, and not good this year. And Caden Wallace on the right side, pretty bad. Juice Scruggs, right guard, not great. But the thing is, the whole line. I watched their game against Ohio State, and obviously Ohio State has a great defensive line, but, Michigan has a pretty decent one too. So the comparable is not awful there, and it was just a bloodbath. They could get no push, and you look at their rushing stats, they've got nothing this season. John Lovett and Kevon Lee are the backups behind Noah Kane. I think Lee is the best of the 3, honestly, in terms of his yards per carry clip is a little bit better, and he showed more of the shifty ability because this team isn't really any different than Michigan State. It's just they don't have Kenneth Walker III to just pull yards out of nowhere.
I mean, I used to love Kane. He graded out really highly in like a Hassan Haskins kind of way. Like, he would break tackles in the backfield all the time. But he was a 5-star back. He was a guy that Michigan really wanted too. I mean, he's he's not nothing. But yeah, it's really hard to get anything if the offensive line can't like get you started. And Sean Clifford, I think, was probably a huge part of that running game. And then you look at his yardage. He had 22 yards against Auburn on 6 carries, but his other games were 66 yards against Ball State. Wisconsin shut him down with that. That happens to
Yeah.
everybody. 58 yards against Indiana. Like that was a big. He was one of their leading rushers, and last year I think he was their leading rusher. Um, so you take his legs out of the offense, and they are really just left with Jahan Dotson.
Right. And the other thing about Clifford too, with his legs, it's not just when they run, design plays for him, but his ability to scramble when the pocket breaks down has always been a huge asset for him. And he obviously can still do it, but not at 100% holds him back. And so you've got a rushing game that's going nowhere, that is getting you nowhere. And so they're constantly behind the sticks, but they do have a good passing offense. Clifford is not a bad passer. He makes mistakes and that sort of thing, but he's a veteran quarterback. And what really impressed me about the game against Ohio State that I watched was it was a lot like Cade McNamara against MSU in that he was standing in there a second before he's just getting crushed and delivering catchable balls to his receivers. And there's something to be said, especially after we watched Shea Patterson bug out of clean pockets for years, right? To have a quarterback who's willing to stay in there and take the abuse. That's valuable. And obviously, it helps to have Jahan Dotson, who's a really, really good player. Not quite KJ Hamler fast, but really, really good. He's got long strides, can pick up speed in a hurry, gets open. He can hit you over the top. He can hit you over the middle. I mean, any part of the field. And they run a lot of screens, too.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the offense. About 25% of Clifford's passes in the game I watched were screens. And they do a lot of those the bubble variety to Dotson or Parker Washington, the slot on the outside to try to stretch the field horizontally.
I mean, it just feels like Penn State they get in this cycle where they have like the new sophomore is the starter at quarterback, right? Like Hackenberg is going to start now, right? Or who was the guy, Trace McSorley before him, right? Or Tommy Stevens. Like you have like the cycle, right? And
yeah,
and like by year 3, everyone's going in like this guy is going to be a star now, right? I think it even goes back to McGloin. Like they have the guy start for 3 years and like he kind of regresses every year. Clifford certainly hasn't regressed this year, but the loss of his legs has kind of undone him. And then, I mean, the story of that is they get hit so much, right? Like that they take so many hits that they start getting shy. So a lot of times, this is an old NFL study that like the game after a guy takes a lot of hits, even if he's standing in and delivering, he's usually a lot shyer the next game. Like you get a week for your brain to like process that, and then says, "Don't do that again." And it's hard to fight your own brain. So I wonder where Sean Clifford is on that level, because like he has been under a lot of pressure, and that was not really the story with him before, because defensive ends, they would get near him and then they would kind of slow up, right? Like you want to pinch.
Yeah.
You gave that guy a lot of respect. You weren't going to rush after him and give him the chance to break loose. And if you do allow Michigan's ends to go after him, against those tackles, that seems like a match that Michigan can win. It's just the question, can he get the ball out to Dotson? And I mean, fair, like Dotson is doing a lot of that himself, right? Like he knows how to get open. He knows how to break off routes. They run a lot of option routes with him, so the quarterback doesn't have to look at a whole lot of guys. Like he can pretty much tell that Dotson's going to get open against most coverages.
Yeah, and one other thing to note for the offense is that compared to past years, they don't have the big 6'8" red zone weapon tight end that they used to have. They had that lineage from Gimmicky into Freiermuth, where they just constantly had these.
I mean, Theo Johnson will get there. I think he's just young.
Yeah, he's not there yet. I mean, he was a really highly touted recruit. 6'6", he's got the size, but isn't there yet. And Brenton Strange, I don't think, is there at all. So they don't quite have that red zone weapon that they used to have, and that's kind of held them back a bit. But this is a big game for Michigan's corners, not just in coverage with Dotson and Parker Washington, who I think is good, and Keandre Lambert-Smith isn't bad either, but also in tackling, right? And this is like an area where it could really, make an impact on the edges, because they're going to run those bubble screens. And can Michigan's corners get off blocks and stop a 2-yard gain from turning into a 15-yard gain down the sideline? So that's what I'm focusing on.
That's a good thing to focus on. I mean, this runs into our UFR discussion later, but early in the season, I thought Gray was really good about getting off of blocks and getting tackles in, and I thought Turner was the one who was a problem with that. He wasn't switching when someone crashed in on him or whatnot, and lately it's almost been reversed. Like Gray has just been kind of accepting blocks. I don't know if that was just the conservative approach that they had, but it happened against Michigan State too. So that you're right. That this is going to be one where he's going to have to get off of blocks on those screens and attack upfield. He looked like he was good at it earlier in the season. That was the story a little bit against WMU. I just haven't seen it lately.
Yeah, and then obviously the other thing to throw in just is this is a game for the pass rush to feast, right? Like, you want to stop Dotson, don't let Clifford throw the football. And going up against those tackles with what Hutchinson has been for the whole season and what Ojabo has turned into rapidly in the last several weeks, like, this is an opportunity to force some turnovers and really just stunt the offense, get a sack, set them way behind the sticks and end drives. So that's the Penn State offense.
So defensively, they were one of the better, or probably the second best after Wisconsin defense in the conference. I think that was very fair to say. Brendan Smith has come around. He's at that top 20 overall national recruit. That it's his third year now. It's finally time for him to shine. Ellis Brooks has been coming along a long time. He's really good thumper. You love Jesse Lakita, he was weak side linebacker last year, and they moved him down to like a OLB kind of position.
Yeah, he's like a defensive end linebacker hybrid, but I thought he had the best game of all of the danger guys in the game I watched, but you could easily give it to any number of players on this defense. They've got difference makers basically at every positional group, except right now defensive tackle, and that's kind of the story, because they lose PJ Mustafer, who was so important. And when they had him, he was another star up danger man type guy. And they could put Derek Tangelo next to him, who's decent. But there's a massive drop off after Mustafer. And so when you look at this Penn State team, everyone, I think, kind of got the thing in their heads where, Penn State was going to be this pushover team right after the Illinois game, where Illinois runs 57 times for 350 yards, I think was the story. And everyone's
did you see that game? Like, I other than the end of it, they kept on QB sneaking for 2 yards. Like,
it was mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And so that game happens, and everyone's kind of like, well, if that's what Penn State is without PJ Mustafer, like, it's going to be no contest against Michigan and any other team on the schedule. It's decent. But then, since then, they put together a decent showing against Maryland, but a really good game against Ohio State. Like, the defense in that game was good enough to win the game. I fully believe Penn State would have won that game with a better offensive line, because you had a scoop and score that was a 7-point swing on the offense.
Yeah.
And, otherwise Clifford just kept getting hit. Like, if they gave him a little bit better OL, they would have won that game, because the defense did a phenomenal job against Ohio State. There were still signs of the defensive tackle weakness, and that's what Michigan's really going to try to exploit. But I thought the edges, edge defenders and linebackers did a really good job finding the holes and sort of covering up for those mistakes. They're
doing the old Michigan thing, right? Like, where they're doing the thing we were doing last year, where they take Aiden Hutchinson and Kwity Paye and have them like crash into the B gaps, and so they're doing that with Ebiketie, is that his name?
Yeah, him and Lucetta.
So they're having those guys take inside gaps in order to make it easier on the tackles. And as we saw last year with Michigan, that just opened up your edges, right? That turned it into a foot race with the linebackers. Now their linebackers can win those foot races, and they have a way better secondary than Michigan did last year. So they can certainly bring that to bear. Tariq Castro Fields has been around, since 2016
Forever.
or 17. Yeah, like he's been starting forever because I think he lost a year in there too. And then Joey Porter's the other cornerback. He's kind of an up-and-comer. I was kind of close to asking you if you wanted to star that guy too, but we'd already started so many guys on the team.
Yeah, I mean, Joey Porter's is fine, and Castro Fields, I thought, had a really good game. He was covering Garrett Wilson for a lot of the game I saw and did a fine job. And then Jaquan Brisker is a guy who's been getting high first round NFL draft hype. He didn't have the best game I saw, but there's plenty of evidence, from the rest of the season. So again, they've got
like
a
a
star
Dax
up
Hill
guy
level athlete. He and the other safety, Jair Brown, and a bunch of other guys came from this. They were all hidden in this community college in Pennsylvania that nobody checks except for Penn State, I guess. So they had like a ton of guys from that one community college, and but Brisker popped out of there, and all of a sudden, all the SEC schools wanted him too, and it was like a huge recruiting win. Like that guy was like a 5-star recruiting win out of community college, and normally Michigan fans don't even pay attention to JUCO rankings because we can't get them in. But like that, he was that level of recruit. Like he is basically a Dax Hill kind of level recruit, but it's his senior year.
Yeah, and so at the end of the day, they've got a ton of talent. They've got impact players all across the defense, and so you really just have to step back and disregard the Illinois situation and look at the whole of the team. And they are the number 7 defense in SP Plus for this season, and they've put together some really good performances. I think it's just a matter of, can Michigan still target those, the interior of the DL enough to move the ball on the ground, because I don't think you want to be in passing downs against this team with their pass rush off the edges, with the cover guys they have in the secondary and playmakers all over. Like, you want to get ahead and keep the ball on the ground. Don't fall behind the sticks. Don't allow sacks. But again, this is a game where Michigan should have clear advantages in certain components of the line of scrimmage, right? In the interior when they're on offense, and then all the way around when they're on defense. So that's kind of where the matchup hinges in my mind.
All right. You got a score prediction?
This is tough. I mean, Michigan has not played great in Happy Valley the last 2 times, but those were whiteout games. They were night games. They were not at noon. The last time it was at noon, it went quite well in 2015. So yep. I think Michigan, I would probably pick Michigan by a field goal maybe, but it'd be very, very close, and I could easily see Penn State coming away with a win. I mean, you got to start on time. That's what happened the last 2 times you were in Happy Valley. So, all
right. I gave mine on WTK, so I don't have to do it again. Haha. We'll go to a break. We'll talk about the Indiana game when we come back. Want the perfect game day outfit? Underground Printing has unique, great-fitting U of M apparel and officially licensed apparel from legendary Michigan names like Woodson, Howard, Ufer, and more. UGP also specializes in custom printed apparel and promotional items for groups, events, and businesses. Whether you need 1 shirt as a gift or 1,000 shirts for a charity walk, Underground can customize almost anything for groups large or small. To learn more, visit Underground Printing at one of our 3 convenient locations around Ann Arbor or online at undergroundshirts.com. It's painless. It's online. It's group ordering made easy for your next custom printed apparel order. Pogo from Underground Printing will save you time and hassle. Whether you're selling shirts for a fundraiser, organizing a large event, trying to collect sizes and payments for a family reunion, or, ordering a whole bunch of shirts with your Kickstarter, Underground Printing is here to help. Save time and hassle every step of the way with their easy-to-use site. No more guessing what to order, chasing people down to pay, wasting time trying to sort out the order. They'll set it up, and you can just sit back and relax. They'll even take care of individual shipping. To learn more about Pogo, visit them at any of their convenient locations or at pogo.undergroundshirts.com.
Under name, image, and likeness group licensing agreements, college athletes can now earn money. Still, the indirect consequence has many athletes chasing money, losing valuable study time for classes, practices, and games. As a group sponsor, you can offer a minimum of $100 in a one-time payment, or $20 or more per month on your credit card. Monthly payments by supporters, alumni, and season ticket holders of $20 or more will help athletes tremendously. Being a student athlete is not easy. It's hard. And until now, athletes were not allowed to work to make extra money while on a scholarship. On TeamFanClub.com, sponsors can make it easier for their favorite team or coach with a simple commitment to a group licensing agreement. Group licensing benefits all scholarship players, not just the starters. It provides fairness for all athletes who practice and train together for games. It provides security for players to stay at your school and not go into the transfer portal. Support student athletes today and sponsor a team at TeamFanClub.com.
Hey, it's Nick Hopwood, founder and president at Peak Wealth Management. We have a lot in common. We both went to Michigan. We're both huge fans, but I'm concerned about how much time you're spending on Michigan football recruiting. This could be time spent with me poring over your cash flow and Roth conversion strategy. How are these Roth conversions going to get done with you spending all your time and energy on MGO Blog looking at the next 5-star recruits? Hey, all kidding aside, if you're addicted to MGO Blog and you want to outsource some of your financial planning to an expert, consider us. PeakWM.com/MGoBlog. At Peak, we work with people in a variety of situations. Some of our clients are young professionals looking to optimize their savings and investments. For young people, time is the key. Some of our clients are super affluent trying to figure out when they can retire. Some are high net worth retirees looking for a second opinion on how their money's working for them. Get your second opinion at peakwm.com/MGoBlog.
Peak Wealth Management.
Retire with confidence.
During these challenging times, it is important to have a Michigan man in your corner. If you or someone in your life has questions, concerns, or just want to discuss your legal rights, give attorney Jonathan Paul a call at 248-924-9458 or visit his website, michiganlawgrad.com. John asks you all to be safe. We're going to get through this together, and as always, go blue. Welcome back to MGoRadio. What is it, 5-9? Am I right? 7-9. 7-9. Yeah. I'm Brian now. It sucks.
Yeah.
Used to make fun of him all the time. MGoRadio 7.9. We are using SignalWire, by the way. SignalWire is real-time video technology that allows you to create interactive video experiences. Cities use it for virtual town halls. Musicians use it for their fully interactive virtual concerts. Bloggers use it to record podcasts, obviously. It was started by the original geeks of software-defined telecom technology. They're Michigan fans. They'll be the ones personally supporting you. They are awesome. So definitely check them out, especially if you're getting sick of Zoom. Anyway, let's talk about the Indiana game, which things that we learned against Indiana. Do you have questions for me? Because normally this is the Brian's bold-faced alter-egoing, and I'm responding.
I mean, first and foremost, what are your thoughts on Cade after this game?
I thought it was great. I'm arguing with people all week because I thought he was great. I am known as the guy who signed Cade McNamara, right? Like, people know that I am willing to be critical of Cade McNamara on certain things, and we had those certain things in this game too. He did we did have a couple more of those non-read zone reads. But he wasn't dealing like the Michigan State game, but he got the ball to those guys. I don't think he got the opportunities that he normally would get because they were pulling him out on 3rd and long. But there was no need to have him out there on 3rd and long, right? Michigan was up. Indiana wasn't going to score again. Maybe people don't like running passes as much. I guess it's like a child of the 90s. I feel like, running and throwing at the same time is kind of hard, and the quarterbacks who could execute it are really good. But 81% downfield success rating, that was his best outing of the season, not counting NIU. Had 4 dead-ons, 8 catchables like that and then just a couple bad throws all night. What did you think anything differently other than his zone reads?
I mean, it didn't stand out to me as like a particularly great performance, but I didn't think he was bad at all. So I just was kind of intrigued at how highly he graded out. The other thing I thought, tell us about Cornelius Johnson. He seemed to get a very high grade.
Yeah, well, we had like one talk about like best performance in NIU, right? Like
Yeah.
he, so you remember that move he put on the NIU corner, and
Yeah.
and then like we hadn't seen that very much. Now, it may be on the coach's tape. I don't know, right? Like Sam Webb's always talking about how guys are getting open, and I'm guessing Cornelius Johnson is probably the number one guy who's been able to do that, and quarterbacks aren't seeing him downfield. So it's possible we've missed some. But we saw two of them. One where McCarthy just got lit up right when he was throwing it. But he was wide. He shook his guy and he was wide open. And then the other one on the long pass, like that was just a double move where he has two guys kind of wondering which one's going to have to take him, and he kind of looks them both off, and then jets past them, and then he's got the speed. I mentioned this in the other podcast too, but I kind of think we need to start talking about him as like a Manningham, or the most Manningham-like guy we've had since Manningham, where he's just like that route artisan who's got the speed to make sure like after he wins the route, it's really hard to catch him afterwards.
All right. And Luke Schoonmaker, 2 touchdowns, seemed like a standout. What do we feel about him after this game?
I mean, not Eric All as a blocker, but who is, right?
Right.
But like he's one of those guys. Michigan's had a bunch of McCune. He's another guy like that, right? Just a super tall target. We have not gotten to see Schoonmaker try to make crazy catches that much, just because just the role he's had on the team. They haven't really used him as a receiver very much yet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this time, like he actually had to be that guy because Joel Honigfer's not going to be that guy, and Carter Seltzer's a walk-on, and neither one of them. I mean, Seltzer almost made a really cool catch, but he did not. He still does not have a career catch. that was another one of those reviews, by the way, that I always talk about, where like watch it in real time, watch the thing in real time. It was obvious in real time that he didn't catch it. Just like that Michigan State catch. And then like they go to review and it's like, oh, does he have a finger under it? Just like, and then we're sitting here watching this review forever, Right.
And then offensive line, any thoughts about that?
Well, we got Keegan back. I think that's a bigger thing than we realized. Barnhart did not grade out very well in the last couple games. I mean, Michigan State, nobody grades out well against Slade. He's a really good player. But like, having Keegan back, Keegan just does these things where like they hit you with a blitz and all of a sudden he picks it up and just kind of carts the guy out of the way and it's solved, and you barely even notice it afterwards, but it's like that was a really good blitz, and like that gets a lot of college offensive linemen. So I love that about Keegan, especially against Indiana, because me, Tom Allen. I have a lot of respect for the way that he runs his defense, right? Just the looks are really hard to pick up what they're going to do before the snap. And the guys that they can bring, like Micah McFadden, like they can bring those guys really quickly. I would like to see Tom Allen with – I don't want to see Tom Allen with talent because we have to face him every year, but I would like to see him with talent. Like, maybe the USC job or something like that. Like somebody needs to give him an opportunity. But he is good about that. And then stretch zone. We had stretch zone in this game, right?
Yeah.
And like outside zone has not been part of they've tinkered with it, right? They've had it in the mix a couple times under Harbaugh, but really since Rich Rod, that's not been even as much as like a number 2 running play for Michigan. And they seemed pretty good at it. I mean, granted, Indiana probably wasn't prepared for it. They weren't expecting Michigan to run outside zone, but Vastardis, it kind of uses his athleticism and speed, and that's, your center's block matters more than any other block. That's another one of my things. Like, if you can make your center good, that changes the whole look of the offense, right? Like, your guards don't have to be perfect if your center's great. The guards, they held up. They were okay. If they hit some cutback lanes, like, they could have used the fact that they weren't really catching up. But Hayes has that kind of speed, too. So I think that they can stretch zone left. I'm not sure they can stretch zone right, but I really like that it's a way to run away from the side that defenses like to attack, because Michigan wants to run off the edge, right? We want to bring our tight ends across. We want to pull. We want to play power, right? So if Michigan's attacking that edge all the time and defenses are overplaying that edge, one way to beat that is just run as fast as you can the other way, as we found as was Indiana's plan all along in this game too. So I think if Michigan is better at it every week, that it's going to be a really good addition to the offensive mix. I like it a lot better than split zone because they can't run the counters to split zone. They've tried every single one of them. They can't.
Yeah. On defense, obviously Penn State will be the best passing offense Michigan has played all season, most likely. How do we feel about the corners, Gray and Turner? And I mean, Green didn't really play.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, what are you gonna? Yeah. I mean, everyone saw Indiana was just like completely overwhelmed. I think I used the example of taking Isaiah Barnes and making him your quarterback. That's literally what they're doing. Okay.
Right.
Right, like he's like a 4-star small forward that they're like, you're pretty athletic. So like their only plan was to put a bunch of receivers on the side that Aiden Hutchinson's on. And if the boundary side, don't care. Put some receivers on the side that Aiden Hutchinson is on, because that turns him into an outside linebacker instead of the guy who's crashing in on your edge all the time, right? So that kind of nerfed what Aiden could do. He's still graded out incredible because he's Aiden Hutchinson and they had passing downs. But
yeah.
but that kind of took him out of the game a little bit and put him in these situations that I'm sure everyone kind of remembers from this game now, where like, does he attack the quarterback? Does he try to knock it down? But that was because they were on the short side. So when the option actually came, they were kind of running out of space. And sometimes they completely ran out of space. There were no options. And that was really the best strategy they had, because every time they tried to run the other side, Michigan was overloading it. They went with the whole Don Brown setup, right?
Yeah.
So we had Barrett coming off the edge over there. They used kind of a combination of Upshaw and Mike Morris as like the anchor, so they didn't have Ojabo in there on most downs. And then, of course, as soon as you get to passing downs, Ojabo wrecks things. So, no.
Yeah.
The secret's out.
And what did we think of Barrett?
Barrett was fine. Mostly his job was to go and be on the slot. So, I mean, Indiana's whole system was like, let's spread the receivers out and get people away from our quarterback power running game, right? And then they were going to pull a guy and then have the running back lead block, and they maybe like fold a tight end in or something, right, to make a new gap. And it worked once, and that was it. That was all they had. They had like a quarter. They had a pass to the quarterback. They had a end around that flipped back to the quarterback to pass it. Those both succeeded, but one of them succeeded. One of them made Hutchinson actually covered like a cornerback. And the other one only succeeded because Barrett, and that's what I was getting to, Barrett kind of forgot that he was a defensive back for a second. Like he's in good coverage, right? And he turns around on it, and like I'm waiting for him to go and intercept it, and then he just kind of lets the tight end jump up first, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I have to defend this," and kind of comes in late and tries to knock it out from the front, and then tries to knock it out from the back, and the tight end's like holding it, like, "Sorry, kid, this is mine now." I mean, that's Peyton Hendershot. He's a good player, and by the way, I think the descendants of a Michigan player. We had a Hendershot in the 50s or something.
Okay.
Sorry, I know that was kind of a random thing to pull out, but we had there was one of the old guys died this week, so I was on a Zoom call with a lot of old Michigan players who don't know how Zoom works still after an entire pandemic.
Well, that's why they should switch to SignalWire.
That's right. Any other questions? I mean,
not particularly. Is there anything else on your mind about this game?
Colson's coming along. Still, I don't know how much you were banging the table when they let the quarterback run all of a sudden, especially on third down.
Yeah.
Because that was like your whole faux film, right? Like that was your
that was all Indiana was doing or attempting to do, really.
Yeah, so it was. Welcome to faux film, my friend. This is what your life is going to be like every single week. You're going to see something, and then they're just not going to be prepared for it, and you're like, that's how football is. Not everyone can see everything, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, anything on your mind? Anything you noticed from the game?
Not particularly. I mean, it was a very sleepy game, so it's hard to pull out specific memories without going back and watching the tape like you did. So
very, very fair. I saw you yawn 3 times in the segment. Let's stop this and we'll go talk basketball and hockey.
At Peak Wealth, we believe we can help you retire with confidence. It's Nick Hopwood, certified financial planner from
Peak Wealth Management
in Plymouth. I graduated from Michigan in 2001 with an econ degree and founded Peak Wealth Management in 2014. Now we have over $240 million of assets under management. As a freshman in 97, winning the national championship in football and hockey didn't get any better than that. Both my wife and I lived in Bursley that year, and it's crazy because we never actually met while living in the same dorm. Probably because she had a car and I had to ride the bus. But we named our dog Bursley anyway, and he's on the payroll here at Peak Wealth Management. At Peak, we're fee-based. We're your fiduciary, which means everything we recommend is always in your best interest. We partner with leading institutional money managers, focus on low fees, and make sure every client has a financial plan covering retirement, college, tax, estate, insurance, and cash flow. Simply put, we are
Peak Wealth Management,
your comprehensive financial coach. Book your second opinion at peakwm.com/mgoblog.
Peak Wealth Management.
Retire with confidence.
Passion for e-commerce. Sell stuff online. Security. Performance. Conversion. Beautiful user experiences. Belle experience utilisateur. Monthly marketing. PPC SEO. Make your user a customer. Conversion. Eau de parfum for online retailers. Love your website. Let Human Element show you how. Available at human-element.com and fine department stores, not fine department stores.
In southeastern Michigan, the yearly cost for a nursing home averages
approximately $100,000.
It doesn't have to, though. Reid McCarthy founded Ann Arbor Elder Law after handling a tricky situation for his own family. Years of experience later, his boutique firm works with clients across southeast Michigan, dealing with Medicaid planning, long-term care, and tax, disability, and family law, not to mention family dynamics. If you have a family member who may need that level of care, or if you're ready to start your own estate plan, Reid can give you a plan for the future. Visit AnnArborElderLaw.com or call 734-945-9693. That's 734-945-9693.
If you want to see where our post-game podcast happens, or if you need a spot to land in Ann Arbor, check out 4M, Prentice Partners' beautiful brand-new flagship property at 830 Henry Street in Lower Burns Park and across the bridge from the Big House. Their 11 spacious 6-bedroom, 6-bath suites feature state-of-the-art digital capabilities and are laid out for comfortable, efficient collaboration. You can also rent a 4M unit for shorter stays, say if you want to come to town for a football weekend. I want to add myself that they're also taking over Lucky's. We're really excited about their plans for that space. So if you're by the stadium, swing by 830 Henry or visit Prentice4M.com.
Here's a thing people say. Seth, tell me about your insurance.
I'm actually glad you asked me about that because I just changed my insurance and I'm really happy I did.
Let me guess, you use Phil Klein and Owen Rosen of the Phil Klein Insurance Group.
They are MGoBlog readers and they don't advertise during football games.
And they've got a 5-star rating on anything you would care to see. Call Owen at 248-682-7445 or visit them online at philkleininsurance.com.
Welcome back to MGoRadio 7.9. By the way, that's Nomo that you're listening to. That was a band that I was into a little bit in how was it, 2004, 2003? Somewhere in there, they were bouncing around Ann Arbor, and then I think all of them end up being professional musicians. So you can still find their stuff called it's Nomo, N-O-M-O. Anyway, you got your Ken Palm up? Ready for talk basketball?
Yep.
So Michigan wins 88-76 over Buffalo. It looked like it was going to be a blowout. Then it looked like it was going to be really tight. And then Michigan kind of pulled away. I kind of put my takeaways in the game, or Brian wrote up his bullets afterwards. Did you have any thoughts you wanted to add?
I mean, I thought, for me, this was the first time really getting to see the new freshman pieces, right, that we've been hearing about, certainly at the NCAA level. But I don't, do the level of scouting at the high school level that Matt D does say. So,
Well, literally
um,
nobody does.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
reading his stuff, I had a framework of what to expect, but I thought, Musa Diabate was really good and really fluid off the dribble in a way that's really rare for a player of that size. And there's still
Yeah.
some stuff to rein in, but just you can see the potential and just how smooth it all is in the way he plays. So that was really fun. Caleb Houston struggled defensively, but I thought we got to see where the length comes into play for him, particularly finishing at the rim, which was an interesting thing to file away. I thought Frankie Collins played more than I was kind of expecting. He got a little bit of a run there in the first half.
Yeah, he didn't show up in the box score at all, but I remember him, he was running the floor. He seemed to seemed to be feeling it.
Yeah, and then, I mean, obviously outside of the freshman, I think really the story is Terrence Williams, because he has a game that really is tantalizing in terms of showing off what we thought there was a chance he could grow into as a sophomore, as a guy who was marketed as a much better shooter in high school than we ever saw last season, and started to show a little bit more of that in that game. But the motor, the energy on the floor defensively, and then also with offensive rebounding. His offensive rebounding rate last year was outrageous for a player of his size. Now, obviously, small sample size caveat, but you could still see that there. And I think obviously if he keeps playing like that, he's going to have a very big role. But even regardless, I think that there is definitely the likely chance that he is the Deshaun D. Brown of this year, is a guy who can come off the bench and plays a lot and closes out games in a number of situations. Obviously, a little bit bigger guy can play, the 4 and potentially even a small ball 5 in a way that Sean D couldn't. But in terms of that energy off the bench, I think that comparison could be pretty apt. So excited to see more of him moving forward.
Yeah, I think that you were right about. Caleb Houston. I didn't think it was an athletic problem nearly as much as it's just he didn't really kind of know where to be, and he was just like a half second late. And if you are a large guy playing against guards, right? If you have to get out in the perimeter, especially when they were playing like the 2 big lineups, and then they had Houston in there as the third guy, they're going to go to some smaller, and you're going to end up having to face guys who are a little faster, and you have to get out there faster. I think he's got the feet to do it, but right now he just is not quick enough to, he's just not quick enough in the uptake because he's a freshman. And I think that we kind of saw him 5-star, top 5 player, right? This guy's going to come in and just be a rock star right off the bat. I'm well, he's coming out of high school. He's coming out of a good high school. He's coming out of he's played with some crazy athletes already, and but the way that guys play and the way the ball moves is going to be a little bit new for him, and I think that lends itself to Terrence Williams playing a little bit more over Johns, because Johns is another one of those big guys, and you saw it. Everyone saw Diabate. Everyone saw that, and I think every Michigan fan afterwards has been trying to come up with a comp in their own minds, and depending on how much basketball and what basketball you watch, everyone's got their own answer. What is this guy? My own is Jaren Jackson minus the offense, right? The offense might come, but that level of defender who's just such an athlete that he switches on to guards and he looks like a guard, and then he can he just does things when and his arms are so freaking long. It's going to be really fun having that at Michigan. I've been watching Michigan basketball a while now and don't remember anyone like that, even going back to the Fab Five on our team. But yeah, so if you want to play, and you don't want to take Hunter off the court if you don't have to, so to play Houston, I think you kind of want Williams as your guy out there with him, and kind of fulfills both those roles. Kind of takes that Livers role that Michigan kind of lacked last year, that Johns didn't really step up into. Anything from the guards, it was hard to kind of pick out anything other than Eli, because they were all not
Yeah, I mean,
good.
Devontae Jones was in foul trouble like the whole game, so it was very
Yeah.
choppy in terms of how much he was able to play. So hopefully tomorrow night against Prairie View, we'll be able to see a little bit more of him and get a better feel for what he really brings. But we did see it a little bit, especially early in the game, jumping passing lanes and that sort of thing, which obviously he's known for with the really high steal rate last season, which was, I think, top 25 nationally, if I remember correctly. But we'll see more of him tomorrow, hopefully.
Yeah. Prairie View going to be a weird team for Michigan to face. Probably the worst team they're going to face, even though they were 15-1 in the SWAC last year. So they're a good SWAC team, but
they're a very good SWAC team, and they they lost to Texas Southern, who you may recall was Michigan's opponent in the NCAA tournament. So perhaps making up for that, because Prairie View was the 1 seed in the SWAC tournament and Texas Southern was the 3. So that was kind of an upset because Prairie View went 13-0 in the regular season, rolled through with double-digit wins in their first 2 tournament games, and then got beaten pretty handily by Texas Southern. But this is a good team. And, credit, again, Juwan, like with Buffalo, they were a really good MAC team, and Prairie View is a pretty good, SWAC team, at least what we expect based on last season.
Yeah,
so,
I feel like this is going to be a 1 versus 16 seed game.
Yeah,
Like,
you shouldn't expect a close game, but at least you're picking teams that have won basketball games, right?
Yeah,
that aren't just downtrodden.
And this is a team, I like this team, like you said, because they're a 16 seed, right? That this is the kind of team that you're gonna that you could see in the tournament. They don't have any bigs, so you have the option of just Hunter singing them to death. But like with Buffalo too, those are just good teams in their conferences, and I think Buffalo's gonna do a lot because they had to play their kind of gumpy bigs because we have Dickinson, right? Like you don't have a choice. But what if they can play Mabala, which they can get away with through most of the MAC? They've got a pretty good top 5, and I don't know if you could have a lot of mid majors. I think they're number 90 or something right now in KenPom, and that's going to go up. I think they're going to be one of the better mid major teams. So that's basketball. It's tomorrow night. What time's the game tomorrow night? Do you know?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Thank you. Quick hockey talk. We had a 5-1 win against Penn State last night. That felt. I thought it was dominant the whole time, and then I got testy at you for a second on Twitter because you were like, they're standing around the second quarter.
Yeah, well, I mean, the second period they were a little flat in one stretch of that game where Penn State scores back to make it 2-1. It's interesting. Penn State won the Corsi battle 51-49 by percentage, but that's always inflated a bit in Penn State's favor when you play in their
Penn
arena.
State likes to put the puck on the net and hope, right? I mean, it's a good strategy. I think that Michigan, having Portillo being able to play the puck, really helps against a team like Penn State because they put the puck on net and you're just like, okay, I'm going to give it to an open guy. And we had a couple times this game where the breakout was just one guy skating up the ice because Portillo made the pass, right?
Yeah. And you look at that game, Matty Beniers scores 2 goals for the 3rd straight game, 6 goals in his last 3 games. And what's really interesting about that is both were power play goals, and you're really starting to see him feature more on the half wall over by the dot when they've reconfigured the power play units. And so at the start of the year, you had Beniers playing around the net, either on the goal line or in screening, and now you've got him over on the wall, and he's shot from both walls. He scored 1 goal on the left side and the other one on the right side, and his shots looked really good. Not quite Person-like, but when you put Person on one power play and Beniers on the other, suddenly you have more shooting options between those two. So that was interesting to me. Johnny Beecher had a goal and looked pretty good in that game. Also had an assist on the Van Wy goal where it was a 3-on-2 odd man rush. Beecher's looked good. He's looked kind of like he's rejuvenated the team a little bit and added some energy there to the bottom 6. And then Portillo was great. 1 goal allowed, but otherwise was really strong, made some high-level saves.
You thought that Michigan was coming out flat, but I thought they were just kind of keeping Penn State in the zone for a long time, and then it just one of those things where they got a little bit lazy at the blue line, and the puck kind of dribbles out and they give up an odd man rush, and that's just it kind of happened out of nowhere. I felt like that that kind of ruined the shutout, but there was nothing wrong with the rest of the. It was just like one.
Well,
thing.
And Portillo didn't get a lot of help from Jacob Triscott on that play. It's a 2-on-1, and Triscott really doesn't inhibit the puck carrier at all. And Portillo makes the first save, but Passagov is late getting back to cover the other guy, and it goes off his skate and in. It is what it is, but Portillo was very, very good. And so
that's us complaining about one goal and a 5-1 win.
Right, and so now Michigan is 9-2, 4-1 in the conference. But tonight is a big game to continue to pick up those 3 points at a time to keep pace in the conference. And 11 games into the season, this kind of looks like what we expected. After last night, they have a plus 22 goal differential, so they're exactly outscoring opponents by 2 goals per game, and that's kind of what we were hoping for. But again, it's going to require another strong effort. They did a good enough job to get that win in East Lansing last week, and we'll see if it happens again tonight. I mean, that's a tough building to play in. I mean, 6,000 fans were there last night. 61-28 was the attendance.
Yeah, I love Penn State. I really do love Penn State hockey. I thought about going to the game. I thought about going out there this weekend, even though I'm sick of going to Penn State for football games. I thought about going out there just because I still haven't seen a game in that hockey arena. Pagula.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, Michigan has the better offensive players. They also have the better goalie. Like, you should win, but this is hockey. We'll see. Penn another
State
big game.
Throws it up. All right, let's so we can actually watch that game tonight. Let's take a break, and we'll come back and have one last segment with Reid McCarthy.
This is Matt Demrest, the owner of HomeSure Lending. We're a local mortgage company here to help you purchase with confidence and refinance with ease. People don't get mortgages very often, so it can be confusing. We'll break down every single line item so that it all makes sense. And at the end of the day, if we're not giving you the best deal, we'll tell you to go with the other company. We're here to offer our simple mortgage guidance.
This is Seth Fisher from MGoBlog. Over the years, we've sent dozens of readers to use HomeSure Lending, and every review that's come back has been raving. I myself used them to refinance after doing our original loan through our bank. I was amazed how much smoother the process was for our complicated loan. Brian used them, you should use them too.
Finding out whether it makes sense or not to refinance or getting pre-approved to buy a new home is easy. Head over to homesurelending.com, that's HOMESURE, lending.com/MGoBlog to find out more. Or call us at 734-531-9950. That's 734-531-9950. I've got 2 of my favorite people here with me, kind of an annual tradition, Cooper and Colby. Cooper, how old are you?
11.
Colby, how about you?
9.
Can I get a Go Blue?
Go Blue!
NMLS number 116135, Equal Housing Lender.
It's painless. It's online. It's group ordering made easy for your next custom printed apparel order. Pogo from Underground Printing will save you time and hassle. Whether you're selling shirts for a fundraiser, organizing a large event, trying to collect sizes and payments for a family reunion, or, ordering a whole bunch of shirts with your Kickstarter, Underground Printing is here to help. Save time and hassle every step of the way with their easy-to-use site. No more guessing what to order, chasing people down to pay, wasting time trying to sort out the order. They'll set it up, and you can just sit back and relax. They'll even take care of individual shipping. To learn more about Pogo, visit them at any of their convenient locations or at pogo.undergroundshirts.com.
The only thing we can be sure of about the future is that it will be absolutely fantastic. I'm thinking of the incredible breakthrough made possible by developments in communications.
Arthur C. Clarke's 1964 vision is now reality with SignalWire, a cloud platform that enables developers to build the applications that will reshape the future of communications.
These things will make possible a world in which we can be in instant contact with each other wherever we may be.
You can add cutting-edge, real-time video and audio to any product, website, or application with APIs and SDKs for developers of all skill sets. SignalWire is optimized for high-quality and low-latency communication functionality for video, voice, and text messaging capabilities.
Almost any skill could be made independent of distance. Men will no longer commute. They will communicate.
See for yourself at signalwire.com. Use code 2021 and receive $25 in developer credit. Go to signalwire.com.
SignalWire Communications OGs, original geeks of programmable communication.
It's painless. It's online. It's group ordering made easy for your next custom printed apparel order. Pogo from Underground Printing will save you time and hassle, whether you're selling shirts for a fundraiser, organizing a large event, or trying to collect sizes and payment for a family reunion. UGP is here to help. Save time and hassle every step of the way with our easy-to-use site. No more guessing what to order, chasing down people to pay, or wasting time trying to sort out the order. We'll set it up and you can just sit back and relax. We can even take care of individual shipping. To learn more about Pogo, visit us at any of our convenient locations or at pogo.undergroundshirts.com.
Welcome back to MGoRadio 7.9. We are joined now by Reid McCarthy, who is a sponsor, because what we've decided to do is just sell out entirely and have our sponsors take over our show. That way, you don't get the content that they're paying for. You just get to hear sponsors all the time. So, Reid McCarthy, sponsor, tell us what you do.
Well, hi, Seth and Alex. I've been a sponsor for 7 or 8 years now. This is, my 7th or 8th time on MGoRadio. And I'm an attorney here in Ann Arbor. I specialize in estate planning and elder law. And I've been providing people with, estate planning and legal services for about 20 years now, which is crazy to me. And I'm now 43 years old.
And you're a great advertiser because you, I think only a couple times have asked me to change your ad. Is this because the data changed? And so then I just
data changed. I like Brian's read. It's a great read. He does a good job. It's very low key.
It's got that sad music, and then all I've done is I've taken other podcasters saying different numbers to update the the average cost of a nursing home.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to tell you the truth. I kind of feel embarrassed that I'm advertising. Lawyers have a weird relationship with advertising who aren't trial lawyers. So once in a while I check in and there's my ad, and it has something crazy sometimes. I think you had somebody screaming the cost of a nursing home at one point. So no, I've enjoyed being on. I've enjoyed being a part of MGO blog for a long time.
All right, so we actually brought you on here to do something of some sort of entertainment value to the listeners, and that is the Gimmicky Top 5 Bad Ideas to Combat Fox's Advertising Mania. So,
great.
I hope this time that's the actual Gimmicky Top 5 I sent you, because I know that's been a problem for us in the past.
Yeah, Brian and Ace once decided to change the Gimmicky Top 5.
They did.
And didn't tell me, so
They
I brought
did.
in
on live radio.
Completely different Gimmicky Top 5.
All right. So we're not changing. So, all right, so you got yours. Alex, you got yours. Gimmicky Top 5 Bad Ideas to Combat Fox's Advertising Mania. Reid, go.
Well, Craig Ross did mention this yesterday on the radio that he had a dance party in this section. So I think a Craig Ross mass dance party in Michigan Stadium would be an epic way, if not to combat it, at least to bring some joy, because he seemed to really dig dancing in his section. And I would really like to be invited to a Craig Ross dance party.
No, I would like to be invited to that. In fact, I think they had one for the hockey game last night. But I think that they're going to take that the wrong way. I think they're going to take that Michigan fans like this. Let's have more night games that just have a ton of advertising to, because they're going to dance through it. We can just show them all dancing. Look at Wisconsin. They played some, cheesy 90s music, and the students all started jumping around, and now look what happened, right?
It shakes the stadium.
Yeah.
They're going to have to repair it.
Alex, you're number 1. You're number 5.
Pretty simple. Just drastically lower the price of the ads. It would not be worth it to slam it at us if the price was 50 cents an advertisement. Wouldn't be worth it. Instead, we'd get much more Gus and Joel Klatt in the booth explaining trophies to us, which I think is much more preferable to advertisements.
All right, so my number 5 is start an online petition and get a lot of signatures over social media, because those always work. No one likes that idea?
It's definitely a bad one.
What if you get a lot of signatures, though? A lot of so many signatures. The bar goes all the way and then it starts again. Do those ever work? Those don't work.
Not really.
All right. We'll come up with more bad ideas. Reid, you're number 4.
Well, I think it's going to happen anyway at some point, but they should just beam the ads directly, like contact marketing, like scanners, just beam the ads directly into your cerebellum, because that's the way we're going anyway. So it just saves some time, zip those ads right in there. And then we don't have to waste any time taking breaks. Just get the ads just directly implanted.
I think they're going to do that anyway. Alex?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just skip it, and we'll just get there. It'll be like end of the Clockwork Orange.
And the ads that they got now.
Hold your eyes open.
Just giving them better ideas. Okay, Alex, your terrible idea for combating Fox's advertising mania.
Well, the one thing we like about BTN Plus, the only thing we like about it is that there aren't any real ads there. It's a subscription-based service, and so we don't get any advertising. So just make football subscription-based, and the advertising goes away. Not a great idea, but it would solve the problem.
Should they do a Patreon?
It was really nice last night with hockey. I recorded the game. I had some stuff to do beforehand. I was like, oh, I'll catch up during the game. And on BTN, half an hour in, I started it. I didn't catch up until end of the third period almost. There's so few ads on BTN. It's great. So hockey's refreshing.
Yeah, mine is similar to that. I'm suggesting if we just have to survive it, let's play the hockey game, which no one gets to see because it's on BTN Plus and only psychos like Alex have it. Let's play the hockey game during the football game. I mean, we have 2 hours worth of advertising. I've timed it. There is plenty of time to get the whole hockey game in. So you play the hockey game on Friday night. Everyone stays quiet. Right? We just keep everybody quiet about what happened at the hockey game. You know, a couple thousand kids are there, and there's no one's reading the tweets about hockey anyway. Sorry, Alex. And then we get to the stadium, and we all get to watch a hockey game. And, like, we'll get to, like, watch, you know, we'll get through most of the second period during halftime, and then, like, we're excited for the ads to come back because it's like, oh, you know, can we hang on to this 3-1 lead? Right? If they don't have hockey, they could do women's basketball or the men's basketball team. Sometimes they have that going on at the same time too. Like, give us something to watch that we want to watch. We're all there for extra 2 hours anyway.
You may not want that. They might just start playing the ads on the scoreboards instead of the DJ. So, I mean, we're
Let's play the hockey game. It's 2 hours. Give me the hockey game. I have a hard time watching the hockey game, especially when they schedule it during the football game. All right, Reid, you got better. Number 3.
All right, so everybody needs to wear a red hat, and a referee uniform to the games under their jacket.
Okay.
And then rush the field all at one time. Put the hat on. They won't know what to do. It'll confuse everybody, and then everybody leaves the field, and somebody pulls the red hat guy off with them. And then
right, this is what I'm talking about, because they won't know who real red hat is, right?
This will require a mass proletariat uprising, which I don't know if Michigan fans are quite able to do.
I mean, we could just play V for Vendetta among the students and like
that's what my note says, like the end of V for Vendetta. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But
I
you
love
got
this
me.
because they're gonna pull everybody off the field who's wearing a red hat. And like when the time they're done, they'll have him too. Like he'll be like, "No, I swear, I'm not a fan."
That's it.
I don't believe you.
And
I don't believe you. Yep. All right, Alex, beat that one. Number 3.
This is sort of what we talked about earlier with Jump Around, but if they just showed the whole halftime show, just give us the band instead of that would be 20 minutes of commercials less if they would just show us that. I know the viewing experience of the halftime show is worse on television than in person, but it would be better than advertising.
And they just dress the band up like NASCAR drivers.
Yeah, there you go.
You have like the insurance companies, whatever, on the tuba. So like, everything's gonna turn around. It's right there for you.
It's all insurance companies.
Yeah. All right. Mine is pay the players to play football during the commercials. So every player, we're just going to buy them out from underneath their teams, right? So everyone there gets like $100 a snap. NIL, they can't stop them now, right? Right? So everyone on the field gets $100 a snap that they play whenever the Red Hat's on the field. Coaches don't want to call the plays? Fine. Players can call the plays. Just go out and play. They don't want to count it in the game? Fine. We're here to watch some football. We will pay you people who are football players who are also standing around and bored to play football for us. How about that? Like, we got the setup. They're on a field, right? Maybe the officials won't call anything, but, like, they're in the Big Ten. They're not going to call anything anyway. So, let's play some football. Right? Okay. All right, Reid, number 2.
Aaron Rodgers and the Liberty Mutual Emu have to fight. I mean, the Australian Army got killed by emus, and I think Aaron Rodgers could. And at least we pit insurance company versus insurance company. It would be beautiful.
I think that's great. The only problem is emus don't tend to do very well at Michigan Stadium, if you remember the Michigan-Notre Dame rivalry of the late 2000s.
Well, all the better. Maybe the handicaps it for Aaron.
That was my Clausen joke.
He's still coming back from being sick. I don't think he's inoculated against emus, so who knows?
All right. Everyone who got my Clausen joke. Alex, you're number 2.
This is inspired from last week in the Indiana game and how many injury timeouts there were. But if they just did like what they do with soccer with the stretchers, where like the player is down on the field, just put him on the stretcher and run him off as fast as possible and then take him to the tent, that cuts down like another 15 to 20 minutes of injury timeout commercials, especially when a player gets hurt and they're like right barely on the field. Like just roll them off, the field and get the game going again.
But like this weekend, like the most poignant moment of that game, like the one thing that sticks out of my mind the most was when Jamon Green got hurt and German Green's out there like agonizing over his brother, and like that was like a really touching moment. Like I hadn't been that moved in a football game for a long time, and compared to the rest of the football game, like that was high entertainment. To like that was high drama. I'm saying this now because Jamon's going to be fine, but like seriously, he was. You could see that he was really broken up, and that, I don't know, it's kind of part of the drama of it. I think you give the players their time. If they get hurt, they get like that moment on the field when everyone sees them. Like, I don't begrudge them that. I don't like going to commercial when they're hurt. Like, well, that guy lost his knee. Now let's hear from our sponsors. But yeah, you should give the player his moment. My number 2 is the Flick Off Fox campaign. So you need people, like, you get everyone on board. Like, we use the message boards. We'll have people out with signs outside and let them know to flick off the camera every single time it comes near them. Okay? Like, with kiss cam, any kind of camera, right? Anytime that they want to put the camera on you, anytime that, like, they have a moment for a crowd shot, just birds everywhere, right? That's how we do it. And they'll know that we're doing it for that, right? It'll be Flick Off Fox campaign. They'll know exactly why it's happening. So maybe that could like make them stop it because, they don't want that on television. They're a family-owned company. So that's my one idea that actually might work. All right, Reid, what's your number 1?
And my number 1 is hire Dave Brandon to be in charge of marketing because every marketing decision he makes fails.
Alex, you're number 1.
Oh, I can't think of Dave Brandon hate him. Oh, it's too long.
Oh, you can get Dave. I just don't need to be reminded of him in the middle of already complaining about marketing. Like,
but that's the point. It doesn't. He doesn't work. The macaroni. Anyway.
That is a good. Actually, it is a good idea because that got people pissed off enough to do something.
That's right. It would. Yeah. See, there you go.
Yeah.
It tanks.
All right. My number 1 is just make all of the advertisements bad. If you guarantee that they're so bad, everyone changes the channel and no one sees the ad, then we don't have any ads. No one's actually seeing, and no one will want to advertise on Fox if it's guaranteed that everyone changes the channel as soon as the ads come on.
So if you already have the advertisers, why don't you just get the advertisers to be like, Reid McCarthy, Ann Arbor Elder Law, back to the game. Like
maybe they should just go to like PBS and we do a pledge drive. I don't know.
I think if you could get some of the advertisers to do that, that's actually a functional way to handle this. Like if Ford was just like, hey, we're Ford, buy a Ford, and now you get to watch more football. Like I would be moved by that ad. I would be like, thank you, sir. Thank you for understanding my needs. I believe that you will understand my needs on the road in my automotive needs too. I'm going to go and see you. And my lease is up soon. So, yeah, that's not a bad one. That's not a bad one at all. Is it on me? That I got to bring this home here? All right, bring back marshmallows and toilet paper.
Oh, I was thinking about marshmallows today. I was just thinking about it today.
If they are going to make us stand around in the stadium and listen to crap music,
right,
and freeze our butts off at 7:30 at night, we get our own entertainment. We figured out how to entertain ourselves long before you had piped in music. You know what we did? We threw marshmallows at the guy with the cameras. And you know what made us stop throwing marshmallows? If they played football. We weren't throwing marshmallows when they played football. When they're not playing football, we throw marshmallows. The toilet paper, I know it was just
at other fans while they were playing football. And my crowning achievement, I'll always remember this, 11-year-old me put a marshmallow into a Minnesota tuba. So
that
was a great. They got a little too close.
I tried so hard. I tried so hard so many times. I never got one in it. I never got one in the tuba.
I put one right into it.
I did one time get like a camera guy to look back at me because I like just laid it in there perfectly. Just got that right arc that came down and kind of bounced off his shoulder, and he kind of looked back at me, and that was my crowning moment, my crowning achievement as a Michigan fan.
In your marshmallow tossing career.
I didn't get a very long one. Like, what did they shut it down, like 99 or something?
Yeah, I'm a few years older than you, so I got to live through that. That was my youth, was sneaking marshmallows into Michigan games. It was great.
Yeah. So that's what's going to happen to you, Fox, if you don't start learning how to advertise better. Reid, thank you for coming. Everyone, thank you for listening. I guess we have a hockey game.
Did you score predictions?
Huh?
Did we get predictions?
Predictions? Alex made his prediction. I'm not making it.
Okay.
All right. Do you got one?
I'm getting 2007 vibes. 15-9. 5 field goals for Michigan. And a broken PSU quarterback.
This is a mayor and a land surveyor with plans of his own. He hates a Ruska, he hates a vodka bandit from his home. He hates a Ruska, vodka. He never drank a single drop. He hates a Ruska, vodka. There's poison, he swears to stop. He's singing la da 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 la da 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 da. Then one day Boris was visited by demons in his head. And they said, bring me Ruski vodka, or your son may soon be dead. So he went to the arena, looking for Alina, where he swore he'd never go. But just like Alina, knowing they had seen her, she had fled her home. She said in Ruska,
unbeaten, number 4 Michigan, coming to challenge number 3 Penn State. Hello again, everybody, and welcome. This is one of those games that matters mightily in college football, especially since it is on the second Saturday in November. And these are elements that will be impacted by what happens here today. They include the Big Ten Conference Championship, the Rose Bowl, a possible invitation to an Alliance Bowl, the National Championship, and the Heisman Trophy. Now, if that doesn't whet your appetite, you're watching the wrong channel.